So today I wanted to talk about what happened after this first sermon on the middle way. And it's interesting, the Buddha was what was referred to as a walking teacher. He did not stay in one place. I think the figure I came up with was he walked anywhere from 25 to 43,000 miles in his lifetime. So the pattern would be he would wander for about 9 months of the year. And then 3 months of the year in India, it rains, the monsoon season. And so he and his monks would do a 3-month, what they call vasa, or rains retreat. So intensive meditation for 3 months. And apparently that tradition lives on today at traditional Theravadan monasteries. Theravada means kind of the original teachings of the Buddha as far as we can pertain. And that went on. So after his first sermon, it started raining, so he and his 5 ascetics who had converted to Buddhism at that point sat this 3-month retreat together. So he had really no temple and really no monastery, at least at first, and he just kept walking. And all these teachings were transmitted orally, and were not written down for hundreds of years, maybe 300 years, I think, before they were written down. So they were transmitted orally from disciple to disciple to disciple throughout the generations. So during this rains retreat, his order expanded by about 60 people. A wealthy young man named Yasa became interested in this new teaching, and he converted, and then he converted 60 of his friends. So now the Buddha had about 60 followers. And then he gave another famous sutta, which I want to talk about today, the Anatta Lakan Sutta. And anatta means no self or not self. So in Buddhism, they don't posit any form of a soul at all. Different from Hinduism, Kundalini Yoga. There's only changing conditions, constantly changing. This is what this particular sutta speaks to. Another way, it's called 5 aggregates that make up our human experience, or the technical word is skandhas, which translates as heaps, which sounds kind of odd. But the 5 aggregates of our experience. And the one thing to keep in mind through this, I'm going to go through these, they're always constantly changing. None of them ever, there's only impermanence. None of these ever stop changing. So the first one is aggregate of form, which is all our body sensation, all our body experiences, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, rupa it's called, and physical objects in the world. So this is part of our experience, one of the aggregates. So the second one is kind of interesting and can be really misunderstood. It's called feeling tone, or Vedana. And this is really important in his discussion. Vedana is feeling tone. And it's not emotions. It's not the feelings we have for your dog or your family or whatever. It is basically everything that comes into your experience, you have a reaction to. Either you find it pleasant, or you find it unpleasant, or you're neutral to it. And this seems kind of technical, but even if you look around this room, do you find it pleasant? Do you find it unpleasant, or it's just like, just a church? I've heard this from different people. Find this room unpleasant. Some people find it pleasant, and some people I don't think really care one way or another. So it's sort of neutral. And this happens with everything that comes into your experience. You have a reaction to it. Supposedly 80%, maybe more of our experience is neutral. Just, things going on that we're maybe not paying attention to. And that's the time it's easy to space out, but that's a whole nother discussion. So that's feeling tone, right? So if you don't like it, you tend to push things away you don't like. If you see things you like, you tend to want to grasp at them, to have them, to cling to them. And the neutral ones, like I say, just kind of in between, either grasping or aversion to them. So after feeling tone comes perception. You recognize what you're seeing. Generally, you begin to label it. Oh, I'm in a church. Oh, I see a stained glass window. So we tend to create stories around our perception and our assumptions about things based upon our perceiving them. The fourth is mental formations, the mind, thinking about things. Thoughts, emotions, intentions, habits, and patterns. Did you have any thoughts while you were meditating? Do they seem repetitive at all? Have you thought those kind of thoughts before? So that's part of what they call sankharas, the habitual tendencies of the mind. And they're kind of important because this is where a lot of karma, if you will, gets formed. The Buddha was big on intentions before the action occurs. So the classic idea of this would be, two people have a knife, and they're going to put it into a body. One person is a murderer, the other one is a skilled surgeon. What's the difference? The intention behind the act. One is to save a life, and one is to take a life. So it's kind of revolutionary, that idea of intentions in the Buddha's time. But that's formed in that's a mental formation that forms in the mind. So we're constantly doing this. We're constantly having these formations in our minds. So fifth would be consciousness. It's just your basic awareness of experience. And it's not permanent. It rises and it's impermanent just like these other four. So when you see something, there arises eye consciousness. When you hear something, you have hearing consciousness. Tasting, body, and also mind. So notice in here, there's nothing permanent. There's nothing permanent here. It's all impermanent. This is all, according to the Buddha, and this lasted 2,600 years, so it has withstood the test of time, if you will. There's nothing but this impermanent phenomena rolling on endlessly. So where's the self in all this? According to the Buddha, there isn't one. So we think we have a personality, which in one sense we do, right? You can recognize someone's personality, but really it's just the tendencies and habits of the mind based on these aggregates that create the individual, that we see as an individual in the personality. Are you the same person you were 10 years ago? I mean, obviously physical body, maybe different, no, bodies change in 10 years, right? Is there anything you can think of that's permanent in your experience that hasn't changed? Kind of difficult, huh? So, I'm going to just ring the bell. So obviously we all heard it. That's form, right? Did you have a reaction to it, a feeling tone? Was it too loud? Was it okay? Did you like it? Was it just neutral? So that's Vedana. Okay, that's Vedana. At some point you named it, right? You thought, oh, that's bell, right? So that's perception. You perceived what you had heard, right? Did the mind form any formations around it, react to it in any way? Maybe not too much, just a bell, right? But maybe you thought about it, maybe you remembered the sound of a bell from before or something like that. And then consciousness arose with the hearing. So this is the aggregates. This is the aggregates. So we are just a stream of these sensations. Body, feeling, tone, perception, thoughts, and awareness. Constantly changing. So if you practice with this a little bit, you can begin to lose a little bit of identification with the mind, with the self, with the body. Some of you have been probably meditating for a number of years, right? What's your relationship to the mind these days? Is it the same as it was when you first started sitting? Probably not, right? Same old, or maybe it calms down and there's something beyond that that's going on. Something else is there besides just the mental faculty going on. I'll come back to that in a little bit. The other way of looking at this, you ever had a day when nothing bad is happening? Just a nice, kind of normal day, nothing great, nothing bad, it's just another day. Have you ever added anything to that day? Worry, anxiety, thinking about the future. Mental formations, right? Because really what's going on in that particular time is just this average normal day just continuing on, right? So do we add any unnecessary rumination to that day? Thinking, anxiety, dukkha is the word the Buddha used, suffering or stress to that. So that's an interesting one to think about. So after the Buddha gave this sermon, he walked another 150 miles. And importantly, he came across 3 brothers, the Kassapa brothers. And they were fire worshippers, which is an ancient Indian Vedic religion. It goes way back in India. They kept the fire never goes out, and then someone has to tend the fire 24/7 to keep this thing going. And it was quite a thing in India. There was I'm not figuring out the word, but the social hierarchy was based around it a little bit. The Brahmin class was the highest class in India, had to keep the fire going. It was just really an involved kind of thing. So he converted these 3 brothers to fire worshippers, and they had 1,000 followers. And he converted all those fire worshippers with this next sermon. It was called the Fire Sermon. So the Buddha was a genius at looking at his audience. So here he is, he's with 1,000 fire worshippers. So what's he going to talk about? Fire. So he asks them, what's burning? Your senses are burning, your eyes are burning, your ears, nose, tongue, body, mind. Objects, sounds, odors, flavors, tactical objects, ideas. It's all burning. So that got their attention. And why is it all burning? This is what he put out to them. It's burning because of your greed, your aversion, and your delusion. And what keeps those fires burning is those things. You keep adding to it. You keep adding to it. And that is causing this fire. So what would be the obvious thing to do? Try to put out the fire, right? Try to put out the fire. So fire can't burn without wood is what he told him. And suffering can't continue without the fuel of your greed, your aversion, and your delusion. So at that point, they all went wow and became all fully enlightened beings right at that very moment. I kind of wish I was back at that time. So what does that mean for us? In a sense, we all have our own personal fire, right? Kind of that reactive mind that always is moving towards pleasant objects, always moving away from unpleasant, or just kind of spacing out with delusion, right? So the idea with a meditation practice like we have is to begin to look at that directly, right? In the present moment. What's going on in the mind, what's going on in the body. And begin to get some distance from that. Just begin to get a little bit of distance. The former guiding teacher for Long Beach meditation for many years, Victor Bird was his name, and he would call meditation or vipassana or mindfulness the wedge between what you're experiencing and your awareness of it. And with those two, with that wedge, you can begin to, I'm going to use a word here, disenchantment. Usually that's a bad word, right? You go, oh, I'm disenchanted, this is terrible. But you begin to be disenchanted. Well, let's put it this way. Have you ever really desired something and got it, and then now that you have it, it's not that big a deal, a little bit of disenchantment. Or you do something you have to do something you don't dislike, but then you do it and it's not that big a deal once you're done. Or my favorite is paying attention to things that seem like they're not that interesting. That's been really part of my practice a lot. Just what's this kind of normal day like, right? What's going on with this normal day? So with disenchantment, you can begin to cool those fires down. I guess that's the basic message. And become dispassionate, a little bit dispassionate. So I won't go on and on here, but a couple more comments. There was a teacher, he's a 20th century teacher in, I think he was in Thailand. His name was Buddha Dasa. Ajahn Buddha Dasa. And one of his famous ideas or quotes was the notion of ordinary nirvana. And his idea was if we were always in this reactive state of greed, aversion, and delusion, that we would go crazy. So what that also means is there's a certain amount of time we're not involved with that. Somehow we've cooled the fires down for at least whatever time period that is. So part of my practice, and I offer it to you, look for those times that you have what's called ordinary nirvana. When your fires are actually cooled down. What is that like? What is that like? What's feeling, not so much the Vedana, but it's the feeling of that. One of the Brahma Viharas, the four divine abodes, is equanimity. And it appears on many of the Buddhist lists, if you will. What's it like to be equanimous? Things might be not perfect. Things might not, you know what I mean? It's not like you're in a place of peace and tranquility, but you're okay with them, right? It's okay what's going on with what's going on. Ordinary nirvana. It's a wide open space. So I invite you into that if you can. And I've been studying Zen with Jokai a little bit. in one ear and out the other for the most part. But I came across this Zen. So the Zen take on this would be equanimity is not something you need to wait to cool down to find. But in Zen, you would find equanimity within all the fire that's going on. So if you are stirred up, you're impatient, you're angry, whatever, the Zen way of practice would be to find equanimity within the fire, rather than actively trying to cool down the fire. So that works too. And last but not least, I gave a talk last weekend, and I quoted yet another Thai. This is from the Thai forest tradition. Actually, he's a British person, Ajahn Sumedho. We can always imagine and wish for a better world, but for practitioners, it's not to see the world. But for practitioners, it is enough to see the world as it is and learn from it. For awakening, conditions are always good enough. So, I certainly can imagine a better world, especially with current events going on, but for awakening, this world is enough.
Hi, I'm Joe Kai with Long Beach Meditation. Your gracious generosity make these programs possible. If you found this video to be of value, please consider making a donation here. If you'd like to watch more videos like this one, then you can click here. And if you want to stay up to date with Long Beach Meditation, please subscribe by clicking here. Thank you so much.